Afternoon, everyone. Today we will discuss the remaining synapse. The synapse is the junction between the two neurons. So, at the synapse, the how synaptic transmission occur. There are four processes. One is the release of neurotransmitter. Second is the development of EPSP and IPSP. And third is the removal of neurotransmitter, and last is the development of action potential. So how this action potential develop? There are three processes that occur in the development of action potential. One is the synaptic integration, second is the initial segment spike, and third is the generation of action potential. So this is the diagram that shows the generation of action potential. First, in synaptic integration, the EPSP and IPSP, they are summated. Either there is temporal or there is spatial summation of the EPSP and IPSP is there at postsynaptic membrane. So this excitatory or inhibitory postsynaptic potential gets summated and at the synapse. Then second is the generation of initial segment spike. This summated potential then goes to the spread to the initial segment. So as we all know that there is the threshold level of the initial segment is less. So there is a spike potential called initial spike is generated. It is less than the threshold level. This initial segment spike produced depolarization of 30 to 40 millivolt by the opening of voltage gated channel at the on the axon hillock. So this initial segment spike that causes the generation of action potential spike. So once generated, action potential is generated, then it can travel in either direction, either, but this backward conduction of action potential is called ST spike. So this ST spike is cleared. Uh, this help to clear the existing EPSP so that the cell is ready to react to another set of stimuli. This is the EPSP graph of EPSP, and in this there is summation of EPSP occur and it produce the initial spike and action potential. What are the inhibition that occur at the synapse? One is the postsynaptic inhibition, second is the presynaptic inhibition, and third is the feedback inhibition, and fourth is the feed forward inhibition. These occur at different sites at the in the different part of the CNS. Suppose that postsynaptic inhibition, this is of two types. One is the direct postsynaptic inhibition at by the development of inhibitory postsynaptic potential, and second is the postsynaptic inhibition due to refractory period that we will discuss in the subsequent topic. What are the properties of synaptic transmission? There are many properties of synaptic transmission. One is the one-way conduction. It means the At synapse, there is only one-way conduction of impulse from the presynaptic to the postsynaptic neuron. This is called law of dynamic polarity or Bell-Magnetti law. So, what is its significance? Because this synapse act as a valve and are responsible for the orderly conduction of impulse in one direction only. What is its cause? There are only neurotransmitter is there in presynaptic terminal and specific receptor site are there on the postsynaptic membrane. So this impulse conducted in only one direction. Second is the synaptic delay. What is synaptic delay? It is the time lapse or time interval between arrival of nerve impulse at presynaptic terminal and it passes to the postsynaptic terminal. It can be asked in Viva, what is synaptic delay? So, the time lapse between the arrival of nerve impulse at presynaptic terminal and is passes to postsynaptic membrane. It is less than 0.5 millisecond. It is approximately 0.5 millisecond. And what are the cause of synaptic delay? What is the cause of this synaptic delay? That include the time taken for release of neurotransmitter, diffusion of neurotransmitter through synaptic cleft to postsynaptic membrane, and binding of neurotransmitter to receptor on postsynaptic membrane, and this opening of ion channel and this diffusion of ion that causes development of EPSP and IPSP. Third property of the synapse is the summation property. It can either temporal summation or spatial summation of EPSP and IPSP. This is important because excitation of single presynaptic terminal never excite the postsynaptic neuron as sufficient neurotransmitter is not released to raise EPSP to produce the action potential. Therefore, it is essential for stimulation of postsynaptic membrane either by temporal summation or by spatial summation. It means either by simultaneous stimulation of large number of presynaptic terminal on postsynaptic neuron or this is spatial summation or by repeated stimulation of a presynaptic terminal that is temporal summation. Now convergence and divergence property. Convergence property is the phenomenon of if there are many termination from single sources, it means many presynaptic neuron terminate on a single postsynaptic neuron, that is the convergence. This is the diagram that shows the convergence. It means many presynaptic neuron converge on a single postsynaptic neuron. It means in this there is convergence from a single source. In this there is convergence from a multiple sources. Now divergence. In this one presynaptic neuron terminate on many postsynaptic neuron. It means single impulse is converted to many impulse and it goes to a number of postsynaptic neuron. In this there is divergence is shown. Single presynaptic neuron terminate on many postsynaptic neuron as you can see, and this there is divergence in a same track and in this there is divergence in multiple tracks. So single presynaptic neuron terminate on many postsynaptic neuron. This divergence and convergence play an important role in the occlusion and facilitation phenomena that we will discuss later. What is occlusion phenomena? This is the stimulation of two presynaptic neurons. The response to stimulation of two presynaptic neurons is less than the sum total of the response obtained when they are stimulated separately. Suppose there is two afferent neurons A and B. Then what happens if A is stimulated? It excites suppose 10 efferent neuron, and B is stimulated, then it also excites 10 efferent neuron. If there is simultaneous stimulation of A and B afferent neuron, then it excites only 50 efferent neuron, because 5 neuron is common to both A and B afferent neuron. So it is called occlusion phenomena. It means if two afferent neuron is stimulated separately, then it will excite more efferent neuron. If two afferent neuron is stimulated simultaneously, then it will excite less efferent neuron. These all properties of synapse are important, and it can be asked in the long question or it can be asked in viva. What is subliminal fringe effect? So what happened? A afferent fiber divide into many branches, and these branches terminate on one efferent neuron, while a smaller number of afferent neuron terminate on other efferent neuron. When this afferent neuron is stimulated, efferent neuron which is many presynaptic terminal is excited and produce the action potential, and other that are in peripheral zone or fringe area are excited to subthreshold level and no action potential is produced. This is known as subliminal fringe effect, or subliminal means below threshold and fringe means border. So this is the diagram that shows the subliminal fringe effect. In this, stimulation of A and B afferent neuron excite the 5 efferent neuron, and subliminal fringe effect on 2 efferent neuron that are common, that are excited to below threshold level and that cannot discharge. So it is subliminal fringe. So when there is simultaneous stimulation of neuron A and B, it together excite 12 efferent neuron, because these two neurons which are in subliminal fringe, that get that the EPSP get submitted and it produce the threshold stimulation and subsequently action potential. Then next property is facilitation. What is facilitation? When this presynaptic axon is stimulated with severe consecutive stimuli, then each stimulation evoke a large postsynaptic potential than that evoked by the previous stimulus. This is called facilitation. This next property is synaptic fatigue. What is synaptic fatigue? When the presynaptic neuron is stimulated separately, then the rate of impulse discharge in postsynaptic neuron is high initially. After few seconds, there is decrease, and finally there is disappearance of the postsynaptic response. This is called synaptic fatigue or habituation. Okay, so it is temporary phenomena. It what is its mechanism? It is due to the exhaust of chemical neurotransmitter. There is consequently accumulation of waste product in the synaptic cleft, and there is the decreased neurotransmitter transmitter release due to the inactivation of calcium channel, and there is refractiveness of postsynaptic membrane to transmitter substances. So this mechanism is essential. The next property is synaptic plasticity and learning. This is the capability of being easily molded or changed. So synaptic plasticity is capability of being easily molded or changed. Synaptic transmission can be increased or decreased on the basis of past experience. So this can occur, the change in the synaptic transmission can occur either due to alteration at presynaptic or postsynaptic location. What are the plastic changes that occur are the post-tetanic potentiation, long-term potentiation, synaptic fatigue, sensitization, and long-term depression. These are the various plastic changes that occur at the synaptic transmission. Now, reverberation. Reverberation is the phenomenon of passage of impulse from presynaptic neuron and again back to the presynaptic neuron to cause a continuous stimulation of the presynaptic neuron. So, nervous system is a network of fiber, and in this network there is branch of axon of a neuron may cause connection with its own dendrite, and this causes the reverberation of the impulse through the same circuit again and again. There is reverberation of the same impulse again and again. So this is prevented to some extent by the phenomenon of synaptic fatigue. Next property is the reciprocal inhibition. It What is reciprocal inhibition? In this, there is, if there is any afferent signal that activate an excitatory neuron to a group of muscle, and this simultaneously activate inhibitory signal to the other, usually antagonistic muscle. This is called reciprocal inhibition. For example, if we are flexing our joint, then afferent stimulation cause excitation of the neuron supplying the flexor muscle of the joint, and at the same time a branch of afferent fiber excite an inhibitory interneuron. So this is called reciprocal inhibition. It means one branch is supplying the protagonistic muscle and another inhibitory impulse goes to the antagonistic muscle. This is called reciprocal inhibition. What is after discharge? After discharge is the phenomenon in which a single instantaneous input result into sustained output signal. It means there is series of repetitive discharge. Means input signal is there only for 1 millisecond and output signal lasts for many milliseconds. This is called after discharge. It is an important property of synapse. Now, what is the effect of acidosis and hypoxia on the synapse. This CNS neuron cannot sustain oxygen lack. If there is oxygen lack, then it cannot work. It is vulnerable to the effect of acidosis and hypoxia. This explains why the first site of fatigue of the synaptic chain is located in the brain. So, this is all about the synapse. These are the different properties of synapse. Thank you.